Well, as I was saying, the syntax Swami's words and the mystical stone tablet provided a most remarkable insight. Even more remarkable when one considers what happened later that week. Nemesis and I were in a little club in Lhasa, listening to the piano player. And as we ate, I again was struck by a sudden mental flash. Nemesis, old boy, have you been listening to that music? No? Well, listen carefully. That piano player has been playing the same tune all evening, but he's varied it by playing in different keys, chords, and tempos. No, don't look at me that way. This mountain air hasn't gotten to me. Listen, that fellow playing the piano is merely playing a variation on a theme. And it's the same for simple sentences. Even though they may look and sound very different, they're still composed of basically the same things. Certainly a subject and predicate, and possibly an object, predicate nominative, or predicate adjective. And now that I think about it, there are only 4 variations on that basic theme we call the simple sentence. The first variation is quite straightforward. Merely a sentence with single word modifiers, adjectives and/or adverbs. Variation number 2 is again fairly uncomplicated. A sentence with one or more prepositional phrases, which of course function as modifiers. The third variation is the simple sentence with either a compound subject or compound predicate, or both. Intermingling the first 3 variations is very common. We do it all the time. Well, perhaps I have gone a bit too fast for you, old boy. Let's take a few examples, shall we? I'm sure that will clear things up. All right, the sentence I'm writing now is an example of variation number 1, the simple sentence with single word modifiers. You see, A and confused are single word modifiers, adjectives describing Nemesis. Blankly is a single word modifier telling how Nemesis stared. Since it modifies a verb, blankly is an adverb. And so, the first variation, subject, predicate, single word modifiers. Of course, there could be an object, predicate adjective, or predicate nominative in this variation too. The second variation, as we said, is a sentence with one or more prepositional phrases. As you can see, the prepositional phrase, at the napkin, functions as an adverb because it modifies the verb looked by telling where Nemesis looked. At the napkin. Again, an object, predicate nominative, or predicate adjective could be added. Now, if I can get another napkin, I can show you an example of a simple sentence with compound subjects and predicates. You see, it's really quite simple. 2 subjects and 2 predicates. Of course, there could be more than 2 also. The variation holds true as long as there are at least 2 of one or the other. As I said, these 3 variations generally are intermingled. Wait a minute. This is going to take a little more time. There we are. As you'd expect, there are hundreds upon hundreds of ways these 3 variations can be intermingled. This is only one, of course. In this sentence, Nemesis and I is the compound subject. Good is a single word modifier, an adjective describing Nemesis. Through the mountains is a prepositional phrase that functions as an adverb telling where Nemesis and I walked. Today is a single word modifier, an adverb telling when we walked. Misty, an adjective, tells what kind of mountains. And of course, the predicate is walked. At that point, Nemesis asked about the 4th variation, but I could see we'd run out of napkins for the time being, and so I told him he'd have to wait for another time. But I said, why don't we review instead? First, the simple sentence is always composed of at least 2 basic parts. The subject, which tells what or whom the sentence is about, and the predicate, which in the main tells what the subject does, did, or will do, or what the subject is, was, or will be. The subject is composed of a noun, pronoun, or phrase that functions as a noun. The predicate is always a verb. In addition to a subject and predicate, many simple sentences have an object made up of a noun or pronoun stated in the objective case. Another possible third part of the simple sentence is the predicate nominative, a noun or pronoun that renames the subject. Predicate nominatives follow state of being verbs, as do predicate adjectives, another possible third part of simple sentences. Predicate adjectives describe the subject. And so, the core of all simple sentences in the English language are structured in one of four ways: subject-predicate, subject-predicate-object, subject-predicate-predicate-nominative, subject-predicate-predicate-adjective. There are, however, variations on this theme. And so, there we were in Lhasa, two young explorers who had explored not only the lovely valleys of the Himalayas, but also the mystical peaks of the simple sentence.